Hello, it's Nikki. I'm a personal branding coach. I'm a writer, a speaker, an actor, a podcaster, a lover of the portfolio career. I'm also a mum of two, and I'm here to talk about quite a complex, scary, exciting decision that I made this week, which was, and I've got some notes here because I don't want to miss anything, and I feel like it's a really good time to document this process because I want to look back on it. And also, I have usually made the decision to share things when I've come out the other side. So if I'm having a trouble or like I'm going through a hard time or something like that, for me it's much more kind of, I don't know, northern or like discreet not to kind of come on here and share everything that's going on, but instead work through the process and then get to that point where I can share the lessons from that lovely sort of solid hindsight place. But I want to do things differently this time because it's something that comes up a lot in the conversations that I have. And I think it's really important to share the whole picture of this. So this week I have made a big decision, which was to work with a coach for a year. Now, over the years, I trained in 2012 and I've worked with lots of different people. I've worked with people one-on-one. People have come on and helped my business, and I've done loads of online courses. I've been to seminars. Over the years, I've invested a lot in my learning, not only as a coach, actually, even, as an actor. The fees were huge when I went to drama school. I worked throughout. And over the years, there has sort of been this pattern that I have needed help along the way because, you know what, I didn't grow up being an entrepreneur. I didn't grow up knowing how to do this. So I have taken this very seriously. But I wanted to give you a bit of insight around my feelings around this because I know some of you might be watching this and going, yeah, I've watched her for a while. I think she can help me. But there may be something holding you back. So I thought I would just share a little bit of my journey of how I came to make this decision. So at the beginning of 2020, actually at the end of last year, I'd got to a place where 2019 was a lot about being pregnant, and it was quite a heavy, tough pregnancy. It was very hot, very uncomfortable. I had triple the amount of appointments because they had some concerns. Fortunately, lots of those concerns sort of worked themselves out. And then for the final third of the year, I was at home a lot. I had a newborn baby. And so 2019, on one hand, was this amazing, brilliant year. I had a daughter. I was so grateful for that. And it kind of gave me lots of clarity about, okay, what is the next step here? So I did the Year Compass PDF. If you haven't seen it, do check it out. You can download it. I'll probably leave a link and you can have a little look. But I did the Year Compass, figuring out what happened last year and then really thinking about 2020. And also I was thinking about the decade ahead. So I hadn't really taken this on, like about the decade, the next kind of 10 years of what that was going to look like. And I really went deep in terms of what that was all about. So I wanted to make two videos. The first one is like why I made the decision. And part two will be all about like the feelings and the logistics under there of like how I got to that point and like what I'm still experiencing. So the first thing I wanted to say was, if you're thinking, right, this year is my big year, is the year where everything is going to change, and say that big year is at number 10 and you're playing at number 1 or 2, it's a lot of steps to get you to that big place. And what you have to decide is, are you going to be able to take those steps by yourself? And are you willing to slow down the process in doing that? Or the alternative is, Are you going to work with somebody who will give you a map and help you rise up at every step of the way and really support you going forward? So I realized that if I'm saying all these things to myself, like 2020 is going to be this, I'm going to earn this amount, these are the kind of places that I want to be, this is the sort of life that I want to have, this is the house that I want to live in, I can't just make those steps slowly sort of trundling along. I've got to get a bit of a pace up. And having 2 small children, which is kind of bringing me onto the second point, my time is really precious. And I've really realized this, especially with 2, and I certainly did with my son as well, that the time that I have away from them really has to count for something. And this kind of leads me on to my third point as well, which is I don't just want to watch loads of free videos all the time that are somebody like sharing their inspiring story on a webinar, which is actually 50 minutes of the webinar, and then 5 minutes of maybe content, and then the final 5 minutes selling me an offer. For me, that isn't a great use of my time because it's not specific. And although when I first started this, it was really appealing, like, oh, it's free, great, I'll get some insight. These days, it's just not really anymore. It's just not that inspiring. So I knew that I had to get some skin in the game. And I knew ultimately, and a woman who maybe you haven't seen or you should follow, Emily Williams, always talks about this, is that you have to be in service to your vision. So on the one hand, I was going, yeah, I'm going to do all of this and I want to do that. But the action and the place where I was at was not matching to that, was not aligned with where I wanted to go. So in speaking these things and speaking these dreams and actually making the investment and going, right, I'm ready. And this is what I actually said. You know, I had a free call with this coach last week. And then when we came to do the kind of the signing up and the, you know, I want to go ahead type situation, the first thing that I said was, I'm ready. And part of me, and I'll talk about this in part 2, part of me didn't really believe that because I was like, am I ready though? Oh my goodness, here we go. I feel really scared. But I was trying to talk it into existence. Like, I am ready because actually deep down, I do know that I'm ready and I'm here to do some great things. So can't believe I'm saying that, even though I'm northern, like, what? You know, but I am. Okay. The next thing is, it's not my friends and family's responsibility to like take care of my business development. So it may be with Matty that we'll sit down and we'll have a conversation about what we're working on or what's going on or what I learned today or what does he think of a certain idea. But ultimately, I want him to be my partner. I don't want him to be like my business consultant. That's not his job. And so what I was really looking for is somebody who was outside of my day-to-day life, but somebody who was going to be able to support me and be as geeky as I was in terms of this information and really help me move forward. So sometimes people will say to me, oh, my partner doesn't really get it, or my mother-in-law doesn't think that I should go back to work, or my dad doesn't really believe in my business, or my sister thinks that it's a rubbish idea. All of these things come up. And my response to that is, it's not their responsibility to support your business dream, as in flesh out the idea. You need somebody external to that, because I tell you what, once you do get this thing up and running, and once things are happening, you'll have all the friends in the world and they will totally get it. Believe me. Okay, the next thing that I want to share is learning is only half of the battle, the game, however you want to phrase it. So many times we can all feel like, yeah, I know that, or like, well, what could that person possibly teach me? But I tell you what, learning it is only half of it, because the thing that's going to get you results is actually implementing the strategies, is actually moving forward even when it feels tough, even when you want to ugly cry, even when you want to jack it all in and, like, I don't know, have a toddler's drop. That's the learning. That's the tough stuff that you're going to work through to get you to where you want to go to. And what I found was I can learn something in a couple of hours with somebody, or I can learn something when I sit down at a computer. But who's going to be there for that second bit, for that moment where things become a bit scary or uncomfortable, or self-doubt creeps in, or when I'm at a fork in the road and I don't know how to proceed and move forward? That's why, for me, working with somebody for a year is going to really help me, because I'm going to need that moment of going, I can't do this, I don't know what to do, I don't know, how do I move forward? And I'm going to need somebody through those wobbles. The next thing that I want to say is I know that this works because I do it. I do it with my clients, and I know that it works when you've got somebody in your team, when you've got somebody like taking care of you, holding space for you, giving you strategy, shortcutting the process. I know that it works. So in order for me to share that with my clients as well, I've got to invest in myself. And sometimes when you're a mum, sometimes when you're a partner, sometimes when, you know, you're just getting through daily life, or if you're a service-based business and you're holding space for other people, you have to make sure that you yourself are topped up and you yourself are fed and watered and taken care of, because otherwise you're working from a depleted place. And one thing that I was really realizing at the end of last year was I was like, I need to learn some new stuff. I felt a bit stagnant. I felt like I was repeating myself a little bit. I felt like I needed to shake things up. So trust that formula. If you know that something works, do it. Absolutely do it. The next thing I want to say is also there is no perfect time. You know, you'll have these moments of where it actually comes from push to shove of like, okay, do you want to sign up? And you'll be saying, well, no, maybe when the kids go back to school, or maybe when I'm less tired, or maybe when I've got more money, or all of these things. And the thing is, there is no perfect time, because I am a big believer, like, if you want to do something, you will find the money and you'll make it work and you'll do what you need to do that, or you won't. And that's all right as well. Like, maybe it isn't the right time for you. Maybe you haven't aligned yourself to that place. But it's one of those things that you can't say you want one thing and just hope for the best anymore. The market is too saturated. You're supposed to be doing lots of things in the world. You can't just sit back and hope that it will happen. And the final thing I want to say is you have to know what your gaps are. Otherwise, Facebook or Instagram or the latest lead magnet will try and tell you that you need something. So one of the first things that I invested in many years ago was a LinkedIn course. Well, LinkedIn isn't really where a lot of my leads come from. Yes, it's good to have a profile. Yes, I do use it occasionally. But actually, was using LinkedIn at that stage and spending money and hours figuring out how to maximize LinkedIn a great thing? Who knows? I did it at the time, but I can tell you why I did it. Because it was a compelling marketing strategy, probably because somebody said that they became a millionaire within 24 hours. You know the ones that I mean. But one thing that happened for me in making this decision was really thinking about the gaps that I had and really being self-aware of what I needed. And once I wrote out a list of requirements of where I was falling down or what was working or what I wanted more of, they're really great exercises to start with, by the way, really thinking about like what's working now, but what do you want more of, where your gaps are, what you're loving, what feels really stressful, and really working through that process, then you're going to be able to find it. And also it will help your brain get into that solution-focused mindset of going, okay, instead of just saying I'm stuck or I'm not getting the things that I needed or stuff's not happening quick enough, it's actually going to get the wheels in motion, and you're actually going to go out there and find what it is. So that's where I've been up until this point. And another thing I should add before I move on to the next video, where I'm going to go into a bit more detail, is when I booked this call with the coach, I had my eye on a kind of lower cost product. And when it came to the crunch of going, okay, no, actually that is what I needed, I hadn't anticipated doing that quickly. And sometimes opportunities will present themselves to you, and it can be that sliding doors moment of like, do I go for this now, or do I wait, or I've got to jump, am I going to be brave enough? And we talk about fear sometimes as this like floaty thing that's always there, and it shows up in different ways. And it was a question that kept coming back, going, and I think sometimes when these moments happen where you know you have to jump, or you know you have to change things up, the voice in your head is actually louder, and your instinct and your intuition will tell you everything that you need in order to move forward. And it can be really scary to actually listen to that, but I did, and I'm doing it. Any questions, let me know. But check out the next part where I will go into more detail. Hello. So in this video, I'm talking about my sort of process in terms of working with a coach for a year. If you haven't watched the previous videos in this series, go back and have a little look, and it'll give you a bit more context as to where we're up to. Okay, so I wanted to make this next video about how I felt in terms of my decision. And the short answer to that is I felt, and I continue to feel, all the feels. And that's because when you're making a big leap, a big chunk, I don't know about you, but I feel it everywhere. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my breath. I feel it in my head. My head goes into overdrive. Over the last few days, I haven't really slept that well. Like, there's been times where I felt really excited, and then other moments where I'm like, what am I doing? Oh my goodness. And I go back to limited thinking. So one thing that I've realized is, in my life, I have done some scary things before. And I've had periods of my life where things have been very uncertain, very stressful, and very emotional and challenging. And sometimes you just have to remember your own resilience and what you've got through before, and who you've been and where you've been, and that actually you can't let fear stop you, because it will really try. It will start to like pull you back and keep you in those old patterns of behavior, because actually all of that is very familiar, and therefore it's safe. And sometimes what can happen, which will lead me into the next part of this process, is that you can wake up in the morning and those old patterns of behavior, because they're familiar, we can feel like they're the right thing, even if they're just not, that we've outgrown them for some way. And there's a really great doctor, Joe, I can't remember his surname, but I'll link him down below. There's a really great episode that I highly recommend you listen to, where he talks in a very simplistic way about how the waves of your brain can be measured, and where they're focusing and where they're looking at, and how your limiting beliefs can get in the way. It's a really great one. Another part of the process was I thought about my year ahead. And I thought about what would happen a year from now if I did nothing, if I literally just stayed the same, if I didn't go for it, if I let my fear stand in the way. And even just thinking about that it just made me feel down. I was like, no, actually, no, it's not, that's not the one. And so in doing that process, it made me really clear about actually what the vision was, so I could move forward in that way. Because the thing is, in the current moment, you will have all kinds of like, yeah, but I should do this, or oh, I haven't spent that much money before, or that would be that percentage of that somebody's wages, all the rest of it. You can go into somebody else's thinking. Whereas if you try and line up with where you're going, it's going to be so much easier to make that decision. Which brings me on to, as soon as I made the decision, everything started to shift, because there's a huge amount of confidence, even though the fear can sometimes bubble along underneath, when you bet on yourself. When you say, I'm all in and I'm not going to let myself down here. I am going to go for this. I have trust, I have faith that I can do this. So that can be really interesting when you just feel that shift, and I can see it in my face already. Something's shifted. You might not recognize it, but I can feel it. I can't articulate it in a better way than that, but hopefully you'll get what I mean. Speaking of articulation, signing up for something and telling somebody else what I want, who I want to be, has made me be really specific. Because so often we can be, I know I can be sometimes, I can be really floaty. I just want to do, like, I even said it in a video the other day, I just want to do more TV, or I just want to maybe do X, Y, and Z. And it's a bit floaty and it's not specific. But I tell you what, as soon as I tell somebody else that, and they challenge it and they understand it and they ask questions about it, woo, that clarity comes to play of like, oh, it's not that, it's this. Or I thought it was that, but now I need to add in a little bit more of this. So having that conversation with somebody that makes you step up and have a conversation about what it is that you want to do is automatically going to move you forward, even before you get to the stuff of like, right, actually, how do we do this? And it just makes you step into a new realm and a new way of doing things. So I'm excited. I'm feeling all the feels. Any questions, let me know. What's on your list for this year? What do you want to do? What help do you need? If you need help with all those things such as pitching, messaging, working out your packages, getting really specific on your idea, have a look at my website. There's so many resources, mini episodes, all kinds of things. And also I do a free 15-minute session. So come on over and play. There's loads of videos on here as well. Ask me any questions that you want to, and I will be as honest as I can be. And take some action today. Do something that your future self is going to be like, well done, Roby. That was excellent. All right, I will leave it there. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.